Welcome to the Indian Council of Medical Research Online Prescribing Skills Course 2020 for the Indian Medical Graduate. I am Dr. Preeta Kaurchuk from the Department of Pharmacology, Vardhaman Mahavir Medical College and Safdarjung Hospital, New Delhi. Today I am going to talk about prescribing appropriately for hypertension and prescribing rationally for hypertensive emergencies. At the end of this module, please answer 5 multiple choice questions given in the assignment section and give your feedback. The authors for this module include Dr. C.D. Tripathi, Director Professor of Pharmacology, and Dr. Anwar Ansari from Cardiology, VMMC and Safdarjung Hospital, New Delhi. The reviewers for this module were Dr. Nirmala Rege, Professor Emeritus, KEM Mumbai, and Dr. Nilima Shirsagar, National Chair, Clinical Pharmacology, ICMR. This slide lists the learning objectives, and we hope that at the end of this module, you will be able to understand the accurate stepwise measurement of blood pressure in the office setting, understand the clinical approach for diagnosing hypertension and recommend relevant investigations, prescribe appropriate therapy based on Indian Guidelines on Hypertension 2019, counsel, communicate and reinforce the critical lifestyle modifications and importance of therapy in a way that patient understands, optimize the therapy based on patient factors and BP measurements at follow-up, understand the diagnosis and management of hypertensive crisis. In this module, we discuss the importance of this topic, case studies, diagnosis and treatment algorithms. We all are aware that hypertension or high blood pressure is a major public health problem in India and its prevalence is rapidly increasing among both urban and rural populations. It is a major contributor to cardiovascular morbidity and mortality. In view of our special geographical and climatic conditions, ethnic background, dietary habits, literacy levels and socio-economic variables, hypertension in Indian population has some special features. For example, there is rising average BP of general population, onset occurs relatively early in life, and there is clustering of multiple cardiovascular risk factors. This in turn is complicated by low awareness, treatment and control rates. As treatment is usually lifelong, this stresses the need for its effective management and control as it can have a huge impact on the burden of cardiovascular disease in India. The MCI competencies expected of an IMG are to elicit a medical history, develop an appropriate treatment plan, communicate with the patient, prioritize and manage hypertensive emergencies. Let us suppose you come across this case in your outpatient clinic where the patient presents with headache. Mr. A, a 52-year-old male, overweight, smoker and diabetic, complains of headache. He visits a doctor who records his BP as 152 by 94 millimeters of mercury in the right arm while sitting on a stool with crossed legs. A week later, it is 156 by 96 millimeters of mercury in the left arm while the patient drank his coffee. So, Dr. Z diagnoses the patient with hypertension and prescribes him a branded fixed dose combination of 2 drugs, tablet Telma H for 3 months. As a prescribing physician, how would you approach this case? We note that the risk factors in our case is that he is an overweight male with sedentary lifestyle and also a diabetic and smoker. His headache is suggestive of hypertension. Most importantly, BP recording technique is incorrect. The first and foremost thing in a case of suspected hypertension is accurate blood pressure measurement. Before blood pressure recording, peripheral pulses should be measured in all 4 limbs. We have a video to demonstrate stepwise accurate BP measurement. Key steps for proper BP measurements. Have the patient relax sitting in a chair with feet flat on the floor and back supported. The patient should be seated for 3 to 5 minutes without talking or moving around before recording the first BP reading. The patient should avoid caffeine, exercise and smoking for at least 30 minutes before measurement. Ensure that the patient has emptied his bladder. Neither the patient nor the observer should talk during the rest period or during the measurement. Remove the clothing covering the location of the cuff placement. Use an upper arm cuff BP measurement device that has been validated and ensure that the device is calibrated periodically. Support the patient's arm such that it is resting on a desk. Position the middle of the cuff on the patient's upper arm at the level of the right atrium. Use the correct cuff size such that the bladder encircles 75 to 100% of the arm. At the first visit, record BP in both the arms. For auscultatory determinations, use a palpated estimate of radial pulse obliteration pressure to estimate systolic BP. Inflate the cuff 20 to 30 millimeters of mercury above this level for an auscultatory determination of the BP level. For auscultatory readings, deflate the cuff pressure 2 millimeters of mercury per second and listen for Korotkov sounds. Record the systolic and diastolic BP as the onset of the first of at least 2 consecutive beats and the last audible sound respectively. Use an average of more than 2 readings obtained on more than 2 occasions to estimate the individual's BP. Provide patients their systolic diastolic BP readings both verbally and in writing. After measurement, BP recordings and provisional diagnosis of hypertension should be recorded in the prescription. A detailed history and accurate measurement of blood pressure at home and office setting play a very crucial role in arriving at a provisional diagnosis of hypertension and identifying cases of white coat hypertension or masked hypertension. The common feature is high blood pressure recording at certain points of time. This algorithm shown here helps to differentiate among these subset of patients. For example, ambulatory or home BP recording will be higher than office BP recording in patients of masked hypertension. The reverse is true in case of white coat hypertension. When we say home BP recordings is recommended, it should be done using validated automated upper arm cuff devices. It provides multiple measurements and allows detection of white coat and masked hypertension. It ensures greater patient participation and improves treatment compliance and disease control rates. Once we accurately measure BP, we should now know how we define hypertension. Indian guidelines and JNC 7 guidelines define hypertension as systolic BP 140 to 159 millimeters of mercury or diastolic blood pressure of 90 to 99 millimeters of mercury. BP more than or equal to or either 160 by 100 millimeters of mercury is defined as stage 2 hypertension. As risk assessment is imperative before treatment initiation, we need to know that the risk factors for coronary artery disease include age more than 55 years in a male or postmenopausal female, being a smoker, diabetic or having dyslipidemia or a family history of premature coronary artery disease. Hypertension mediated organ damage in the form of left ventricular hypertrophy or retinal or renal involvement should also be assessed. So, the recommended investigations to assess these risks are complete blood count, fasting blood glucose, lipid profile, serum creatinine with EGFR, serum electrolytes, thyroid stimulating hormone, urine analysis and ECG. In our case, history itself suggests 3 risk factors that the patient is a diabetic male who is a smoker. Thus, in our case, we need to start lifestyle modifications and pharmacotherapy a month later. Lifestyle measures should be instituted in all patients including those who require immediate drug treatment. The table shown here lists some of the key approaches that bring about a reduction in systolic BP. They are weight reduction, DASH eating plan to reduce total fat intake and increase fruit and vegetable intake, reduction of salt intake, regular physical activity and alcohol and tobacco abstinence. We start antihypertensive therapy in stage 1 or 2 hypertension patients who are diabetic, or have 3 or more risk factors or evidence of target organ damage. Indian hypertension guidelines recommend ACE inhibitors or angiotensin receptor blockers as preferred agents in younger individuals less than 55 years of age as they have high renin, while diuretics or calcium channel blockers C or D for older individuals who generally have a lower renin content. It is important to remember that beta blockers are no longer recommended as first line antihypertensive agents. To ensure appropriate prescribing, we should be aware of the correct starting and maintenance dose and any adverse effects, precautions or contraindications before initiating any drug. For example, ACE inhibitors or ARBs usually result in hyperkalemia, while thiazide diuretics are known to cause hypokalemia or hyponatremia. Diuretic doses of more than 25 mg per day do not offer any benefit in terms of BP reduction or survival. Beta blockers are not a first line agent for the treatment of hypertension and should be avoided in patients with asthma or bradycardia. Thus, we can sum up our key learning points to write a rational prescription for our case. This includes patient and doctor details. We have documented the blood pressure of the patient and the diagnosis with the risk factors. We note that the patient has been compliant with lifestyle modifications for the past 1 month and we also re-counsel him. The investigations are within normal limits. We initiate therapy with 40 mg of oral telmisartan and ask the patient to visit after 4 weeks with repeat serum electrolytes and creatinine levels. As discussed earlier, management of hypertension involves appropriate assessment, staging, risk stratification and drug therapy with lifestyle modifications to help achieve target BP goal. This algorithm serves as a ready reference for patient management and follow-up. Recent evidence suggests that the level of systolic BP control correlates better with reduction of mortality than the level of diastolic BP control. In patients with optimal or normal blood pressure, reassessments are done periodically. In stage 1 hypertension, we initiate lifestyle modifications and therapy with a suitable agent as per patient's age and reassess to achieve goal BP. In stage 2 hypertensives, a fixed dose combination of 2 drugs is mandated. Now we discuss a case of 68-year-old elderly male. The other details are same as in previous case. We emphasize that calcium channel blockers like amlodipine are preferred in elderly hypertensives. Nifedipine is not used as it may lead to tachycardia and worsening of ischemia in the elderly. Our aim in every case is to achieve goal or target BP, especially systolic BP. Every 3 to 6 months we should reassess the risk factors, blood pressure and reinforce lifestyle measures in every patient. In case patients do not attain their target BP, more frequent appointments should be scheduled. Patients should be asked to bring in all medications from all sources for review. If drug interactions are ruled out, we increase the dose of the first drug every 2 to 4 weeks to achieve BP reduction. A second agent may be added in case of inadequate control. A patient with multiple comorbidities or lack of control despite 2 drugs may require referral to a specialist. Now we discuss another case that is similar to our previous case, the difference being that the patient is age 65 years and the BP is higher, that is 170 by 102 millimeters of mercury for the past 6 months. In patients with stage 2 or stage 3 hypertension, we usually initiate therapy with a fixed dose combination of angiotensin receptor blockers with calcium channel blockers. This combination is superior to the use of angiotensin receptor blocker with diuretics. Lifestyle modifications are essential in every case. The prescription illustrates the important points wherein we counsel the patient about lifestyle modifications, importance of treatment compliance and follow-up. Tablet telmisartan amlodipine fixed dose combination is prescribed to our patient and he is to revisit with all the investigations within 1 week. In this case scenario, we have the same patient being prescribed different medications every 2 weeks due to inadequate control. If we see the second half of our case history, on the first visit he is prescribed a fixed dose combination, a branded drug Telma H. 2 weeks later, it is changed to Amlong CT and he still does not achieve the goal BP. The doctor plans to change the treatment again 2 weeks later. It is important to understand that drug therapy should not be changed so rapidly. Adequate history, any drug interactions, treatment compliance should be recorded. Dose increment of existing therapy is recommended every 2 to 4 weeks, especially with caution in elderly. Switching of drugs should not be attempted as it requires experience and may result in adverse outcomes. This table details the various drug classes and preferred patient populations in hypertension. For example, ACE inhibitors and ARBs are preferred in diabetics and in patients of congestive heart failure. They should be avoided in patients with hyperkalemia and renal artery stenosis. Amlodipine, that is the calcium channel blocker, and thiazide diuretics are preferred in elderly and in patients of isolated systolic hypertension. However, diuretics are known to result in hypokalemia. On the contrary, aldosterone antagonists should be avoided in patients of hyperkalemia. Beta blockers like metoprolol are no longer first line agents for treatment of hypertension. They should be avoided in patients with asthma or bradyarrhythmias. We now move to an important aspect of diagnosis, differentiation and management of hypertensive emergencies and urgencies. The basic difference between the two conditions with high BP, usually more than 180 by 120 millimeters of mercury, is the presence or absence of target organ damage. Target organ damage is a hallmark feature of hypertensive emergencies and includes any of the features of neurologic or myocardial or retinal or renal involvement. Lowering of BP is usually done with labetalol in a gradual manner. Aggressive use of medications for reduction of BP is not recommended. Up to 25% reduction is attempted within the first hour, and over the next 6 hours we try to achieve 160 by 100 millimeters of mercury. Further reductions are attempted only over the next 24 to 48 hours. Labetalol IV is preferred, though oral labetalol may also be used. This is the prescription in a case of hypertensive urgency. We have a 69-year-old male who is a known case of hypertension but not taking medicines for more than 9 months. He lands up in the emergency with severe headache and his BP is recorded as 196 by 112 millimeters of mercury. As there is no evidence of target organ damage, he is diagnosed with hypertensive urgency. Labetalol is prescribed with continuous monitoring of blood pressure to adjust the dose thereafter. An important aspect of patient management is when to seek referral. Doctors as primary healthcare providers must be aware of such situations and when and where to refer the case. If there is inadequate control despite maximal doses of 2 drugs or uncontrolled diabetes, heart failure, chronic kidney disease, expert opinion should be sought. In case of appearance of any of the danger signs like sudden loss of vision, CVA, MI, pulmonary edema, or acute renal insufficiency, emergency management and referral may be required. Thus, in every case of hypertension, regular follow-up with accurate measurement and documentation of BP is essential. It is important to counsel and reinforce every patient about the need for therapy and lifestyle modifications at every visit. Synergistic combinations like ACE inhibitors with calcium channel blockers or thiazide diuretics should be used in patients with stage 2 or 3 hypertension. ACE inhibitors or ARBs are the preferred drugs in diabetics. Hyponatremia may be precipitated in patients on diuretics and salt restricted diet. Referral to higher centers help in patient management in case of complications or multiple comorbid conditions. The don'ts are To ensure accurate BP measurement, patients should be rested and should not have tea, coffee or smoke 30 minutes before recording. Do not start therapy with beta blockers in newly diagnosed hypertensive patients. Do not use ACE inhibitors or ARBs together in the same patient. Two fixed dose combinations should not be initiated at a primary level. Do not lower BP to 120 by 80 millimeters of mercury in hypertensive crisis. Aspirin has no role as a prophylactic agent in hypertension. Thus, the aim of this module is to emphasize these points. Systolic blood pressure is a very important cardiovascular risk factor and its reduction to target levels is essential in hypertensive. The blood pressure goal is set at 130 by 80 in less than 60 years of age. It is 130 to 140 by 80 to 90 millimeters of mercury in more than 60 years of age. ACE inhibitors or ARBs are preferred in young patient population, whereas diuretic or calcium channel blockers are usually used in elderly. ACE inhibitors should be combined with calcium channel blockers when required. Diuretics may be added in cases of inadequate control. These are the various references that were consulted in preparation of this module. We are thankful to our contributors and also to our reviewers. The list of our IUNC members at VMMC Safdarjung Hospital is shown here. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you are now ready for attempting the MCQs. Please access the MCQs in the assignment section and submit the answers. You may also complete the prescription evaluation as per the tutorial which you have already seen. Thank you and happy learning.